so mean. I'm looking at the comments and someone said dad rock. Everything becomes dad rock. Everything. Everything. The Dillinger Escape Plan have albums that are over 20 years old. That is dad rock to somebody. Everything becomes dad rock. Hello and welcome to another episode of Pop Life, brought to you by the wonderful people. This is Revolution Podcast. If you're new to the channel, welcome. So glad to have you with us. If you're a returning listener, subscriber, hell yeah! After the main show, we will be going into the champagne room and have a bit of a listening party with Conan and finally get to play some of the music that we talk about for hours. If you'd like to join us for that and support programming like this, then become a patron or a paid YouTube subscriber. You get access to the champagne room. You get to join us for movie night watch parties like the one we had just last night, where we watched the 1974 film Phantom of the Paradise. Way better than I thought. Think of it as a test run of The Crow, but a little quirkier. A quirkier 70s era Crow. But you didn't come here to talk about the movie we watched last night. You came here to talk about 1971. Was it? Is it the greatest year of music? The revolution was indeed televised, but the question is, against what forces was it struggling? By 1971, the Vietnam War was reaching its most violent imperial crescendo, with American casualties mounting and the anti-war movement expanding across campuses and communities. The United States was only 7 years removed from the passage of the Civil Rights Act and just 3 years past the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. What remained was a fragmented political landscape of civil rights, black liberation, state repression. James Brown had already declared he was black and proud, yet by 71 he was performing for Richard Nixon, emblematic of the uneasy convergence of black cultural power, black capitalism, and state co-optation. The previous year's killings of 4 students at Kent State revealed that the U.S. government was not only willing to kill abroad, but also at home. In 1971, activists broke into an FBI field office in Media, Pennsylvania, uncovering COINTEL profiles that confirmed the suspicions of the anti-war movement, black radicals, and self-proclaimed communists. The state was actively sabotaging popular movements. At the same time, the My Lai massacre trial of Lieutenant William Calley exposed the brutality of American imperial arrogance. Over 500 Vietnamese civilians murdered, while his eventual parole reinforced the disillusionment of a public losing faith in both the war and American justice itself. Meanwhile, new movements were emerging. Women's liberation and gay liberation were beginning to reshape social life, and music reflected those shifts. Carole King left the Brill Building hit factory and her co-writing husband to release Tapestry, one of the most successful records of all time, helping to usher in the Laurel Canyon singer-songwriter movement. That scene would, for better or worse, evolve into album-oriented rock and eventually what critics now deride as yacht rock. The year also marked both endings and beginnings. Jim Morrison's death in Paris closed one chapter of rock mythology, just as the Beatles' breakup left an entire generation in cultural mourning. Yet John Lennon released Imagine in 1971. Marvin Gaye gave us What's Going On, a soundtrack for an entire generation, while Led Zeppelin IV, Black Sabbath with Master of Reality, and David Bowie, through his sexual ambiguity and musical experimentation, expanded the sonic possibilities of popular culture. Cultural upheaval was everywhere. The Manson trial reached its conclusion in 1971, symbolizing the collapse of utopian hippie moments. Musicians themselves were no longer simply tuning in and dropping out, but descending into darker addictions, creating darker and more politically ambivalent records. Sly and the Family Stones, There's a Riot Going On, and the Rolling Stones, Sticky Fingers among them. If the 1960s were defined by collective movements and the rhetoric of unity, 1971 marked the emergence of spectacle, disillusionment, and individualism, the seeds of what would later be called the Me generation. This tension between liberation and commodification, between rebellion and co-optation, was inscribed in the music. The birth of the rock god, the rise of the cinematic anti-hero, and the turn towards more introspective, fragmented soundscapes all reflected a society in turmoil. And yet, in that turbulence, artists created some of the most enduring and soul-shaking music of the 20th century. 1971 was turbulent, transitional, and contradictory. The music reflected the fractures of empire, the decline of post-war liberal optimism, and the radical possibilities still on the horizon. What we were left with was not just entertainment, but soul-shaking sounds, works of art that bore the weight of society in crisis. To discuss the year 1971 with me, I have my friend, the man, Conan Neutron of the Secret Friends. Please welcome Conan Neutron.
Hello. Let me be the first to say that Phantom of the Paradise rocks. That's a great movie.
I watched it when I was a very small child, so I didn't remember anything other than it scared me because of the Phantom character.
Oh yeah, the mask is like crazy looking.
It's the black lipstick with the silk. That scared me. So
Paul Williams. A lot of times people equate it to Rocky Horror Picture Show, and they're rights to do so.
I can see why, but it's not.
It's not. It's different, but it's Phantom of the Paradise, and I'm going to go ahead and say that probably most of the audience does not know it. You should check it out. It's a cult movie for a reason. It's bonkers, and I mean that as a compliment. Yeah, man. So first of all, as you mentioned in that very good intro, as these always are, 71 is definitely a year of great societal change and cultural change. Since it happened to the boomers, every year is like that for them.
I think you can point to this era as one, though. But
they're right. This one actually is.
Yeah, you can look around. Look, there's a saying that Pascal had the other day that's really been stuck in my head. We did a show called Black Fragility, and he goes, the further we get away from Jim Crow, the more people really forget what certain eras were actually like. And I think the further we get away from this time, the more we forget kind of how violent and turbulent the 70s were. Think about the anti-war movement and people literally getting murdered on campus by military.
Kent State, right? Kent State, the catalytic force for what caused Devo. Literally.
And before Kent State, there was...
but Kent State's this year, right? Or actually, I think it was 70. It was 70. It was like... sorry, May 4th, 1970. My bad. Yeah. But it still loomed very large. I mean, you have, Four Dead in Ohio, Neil Young, et cetera, et cetera. As far as to the letter of what you just said, agreed, because it used to be that we had a valuation on remembering things. And now the valuation is on new and like this constant like fire hose of more. And so I do agree. I think it's important to remember, it's easy for me to talk trash on that Apple 1971 docuseries because I know all this stuff. But of course I do. I'm me. Mm-hmm. I'm a music obsessive. I write records, I tour. It's a bigger part of my life than my podcast, Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal, the Movement Extravaganza, even Caterwall. So, of course, I know all that stuff. But there are going to be people that are going to be treated like, I don't know anything about this. Like, what happened around then, right? And they don't know Mark Bolan, and why T-Rex was important culturally. And they don't know... Sly Stone and what a crazy story he is and how important of a year this was, so I think it's interesting, and that's something I found. And again, my take on these shows we do, because this is the 6th, 7th, 8th show.
There's quite a few. There's
a lot of them.
A few.
It's a blast because it is sort of it's a living history with the bonus of the ephemeral nature of streaming culture, paired with the deep knowledge and insights, if I do say so myself, of people with a connection to the historical art being presented, and with some degree of context put in place as well. And that's, for me, that's what I'm looking for when I explore these kinds of things. Like I still remember when I was working at a record store, 17 years old, when I discovered the first jazz record I loved. And I was like, this isn't dentist music. This is something different entirely. I was hearing like Ornette Coleman and Miles Davis and all the jazz greats, and just kind of dove deep, and I wanted to know more about it. And it was funny because it was almost impossible at that time to find information about it that wasn't just, jazz historians, worshipful jazz historians, that if you don't know these 25 records, you're going to have no frame of reference for why he's talking about a certain thing. And it always struck me as elitist. And so I think these shows are interesting because taking things historically, multiple movements, we're talking about David Bowie, it's his third record.
But it's the first time he goes to the States.
First time he goes to the States. And it's the first time that, other than Space Oddity, which was considered a novelty song, everybody. That was one of his, it was considered a novelty song. He was always like that novelty artist. He was like, always kind of weird. He plays a 12-string guitar and wears a dress, and all those things are true. But this was the start of David Bowie as we know him now, right? And so, Hunky Dory, thank you, Stevie. That being the year for this, that's huge culturally for me. And as someone that, if when people ask me about, my music and my artistic influences and stuff, is I look more to people like a David Bowie, who constantly reinvented himself and made new and vital and interesting music that changed, but had a unique voice and a commonality of purpose.
Can I ask you something about that? Because I want to stay on this for just 2 seconds, because I think this is interesting for me. Watching the documentary, knowing what I know about David Bowie, and kind of going back to that era of, we'll call it sexual freedom, for a few different reasons. Like the pill is still relatively new. So there's a certain era, there's this moment of this, we have freedom to do what we want. We can just blast everywhere now. sex. And we're also playing with gender. And one of the things that Bowie's doing is literally playing with gender. When he arrives to the United States, he's constantly carrying a purse, his hair is long, and he wears dresses. And he never comes out and says, well, I'm a woman, because we're not in this era of branding. If anything, part of the counterculture is we're against mass consumerism, and the self as brand hasn't really set in yet.
That's right. Yeah, and I think so David Bowie culturally now is definitely the biggest and certainly most lasting example of that. But Mark Bolan, T-Rex, like huge, because T-Rex was, especially Mark Bolan, very pretty boy that was sort of androgynous, that wore makeup, and it was, the older dudes were not into it. They were not into it at all. But also the T-Rex audience was like predominantly young ladies. And that was new in the way that certainly you can say the Beatles, but the fact that they were there because of these risque, double entendres. I still don't know what a Jeepster is, by the way, but they'll bang a gong, get it on, it's and absent of context, you're like, oh, that's just some dumb glam stuff. It's like, no, there was nothing like that at all, and tied to a visage of somebody that was pushing the boundaries of, like you say, bringing aspects to it that just weren't done. It just wasn't done. And it's crazy to think about, but 71 is one of the years that those things start to change. So throughout the 70s, that becomes much more common. And that then becomes culturally sort of brought into the norms, at least within the rock and roll idiom. But it has to start somewhere, right? And so this is the year that it starts. And for context, and I'm sure we should probably get into some of the records, but I people rightly attribute it to Bowie, but Bowie wasn't very big at that point.
It was not.
Which is crazy to think about, right? So, but Hunky Dory, which is the record that came out in 71, that's the first one that has, he's doing that. Jacques Brel, Dadaesque sort of stuff. And that's where we start to think of, changes. Oh, you pretty things, life on Mars, quicksand, so on and so on. That's when it starts being like, oh, this guy's like an album artist. This guy is. There's something here that can endure potentially.
Well, the album as art is really big at this moment because people are getting budgets where they can sit there and create, and also the media ecosystem around them is really looking at these guys. That's why I mentioned kind of the creation of the rock god as these magical musical entities, almost like unicorns, right? Even when you see like the song remains the same, so much of it, those scenes shot up on Robert Plant so he can appear almost godlike on the stage. There's so many albums as I went through, as many as I could. It took about 6 hours to put the playlist together.
Oh yeah, dude, this is a crazy year for albums. I mean, yeah, just
lot come out.
Even staying with Zeppelin, right? Led Zeppelin 4's record that comes out this year. Black Dog, Rock and Roll, Battle of Evermore, Misty Mountain Hop, When the Levee Breaks. Little song called Stairway to Heaven. Maybe you've heard of it.
But that's like an 8-minute song.
I know.
There's so many albums that start off with 8-minute, 10-minute, 16-minute songs because you can do those things.
Can we talk about metal yet, or do you want to wait for that? Because Pink Floyd, that's actually my favorite Pink Floyd record.
Really?
Uh-huh.
The only reason why I put the Saint-Tropez song on there because it was the only one that was under 16 minutes.
Well, right, because the big thing with metal is that I'm talking about songs for the album format, Echoes. Echoes so clearly is like, okay, so this is meant to, you put it on, you imbibe of some smoked substances, and on you go, right? And as someone that, and neither one of the people on the stream are those kinds of guys, to be clear. But from a perspective of musicality and composition, Echoes is the rare. I would put it in an echelon with Kraftwerk, Autobahn, Magabrain, and a few others that are just preposterously long songs that actually justify the length. And this is pushing the album format and pushing what recorded material could be, again, with the constraints of the time of what can fit on an album, which is 22 minutes either side, like at your top end, unless you're sacrificing low end, which is why the side A end song is usually like an acoustic song or something quiet, because usually that's where your low end starts to pan out. But anyway, that's... Sorry, deep nerdery there. But
no, I think that's important because a lot of these are double albums as well. Because that's how much money the industry is throwing at these people, because they're kind of printing it at this point. Live music looks a lot different too, because these guys are playing multiple shows a night. So the need to tour as much is very different. So you have multiple artists, like Dolly Parton released like 4 records in 71.
Oh yeah, she was on a tear.
So you can release multiple albums. We talked a little bit about this in 67 because you don't tour as much. You're going to specific places, generally playing these like what we would probably call music festivals.
That's the terminology now, and it's not exactly. It wasn't then what it is now, but it's definitely It's an event. It's an event space. Which I feel like we're going back to, because there are people that's the only shows they go to all year are these big.
Well, now that's all they can afford.
Largely fakakta gatherings, but but absolutely. So you have artists that if you're not playing the tunes, you're going to be working on new tunes, right? But it is crazy to think about. I invoked Magabrain without thinking about Funkadelic released a record this year as well, right? And that's a band that the whole P-Funk thing, like which one's Parliament, which one's Funkadelic, P-Funk All-Star, George Clinton, et cetera, and massive discography. But if there's any go-to for Funkadelic that's not just a best of, like it's for sure Magabrain. And Eddie Hazel's guitar stuff on there is amazing. But it's also long as hell. It's got one of the longest songs in their entire catalog. And that's a band that jams. That's a band that has 12-minute songs,
What I did on this one was I wanted to, because there's a sonic through line for a lot of this music. And the one thing that separates music and still sadly does to this day is ethnicity. And when I set up the playlist, at least let's say the first 10 or so, I was
Right.
like, I really want people to understand that there's no sonic difference between Funkadelic and Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
And when you listen to Children of the Grave, right behind it is Maggot
Oh
Brain.
God. Yeah.
And you go, oh man, these guys could have toured together.
Oh, how
But
sick would that have been?
it's
Yeah.
like, oh no, that's black music. It's for those people.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And this
yeah.
is for these people, and we can't have them on the same stage. You know, eventually Stevie Wonder will get on some of these similar stages as people, and eventually Parliament Funkadelic. At some point, I think they play one of those bigger like California Fest things together.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think we think of Parliament Funkadelic in their later years,
Absolutely.
and we don't look at Eddie Hazel. We don't even look at
Hazel's
the
so
group like
good,
the
dude.
Isley Brothers as
Yeah.
like, oh, these are rock, and these are hard rock bands as well. They're
Yeah,
riffing.
Eddie Hazel's like a stunning guitar. Again, go back to the song Maggot Brain, right? I mean, that's basically a 10-minute guitar solo is one of the most poignant and beautiful songs you'll ever hear. Like it's amazing. And there's like almost like nothing else happening with it. And it's just sort of, it's like, wow, that had just not been done. You know, that was something I'm sure like Hendrix heard that it was like, damn, you know.
Yeah, but that's like they're grabbing from the same bag when it comes to
Yeah,
Hendrix,
right.
though. And
There's more
here,
crossover than people realize. I agree with you. Yeah. And there are bands certainly that cross those boundaries. There's a Can record that came out this year. You know, my a great takeaway, some internet wits said my favorite thing about Can is they're a German band with a Japanese singer who's saying in English, yet you can't understand a word they're saying.
your
Great.
vitamin C. Yeah,
I mean, and I love them. I'm a fan. I'm like, got him. You know, that's pretty true. But that's kind of rare, right? They were kind of like a rare in that rare echelon because it is divided. And by the way, I'm not going to let it go. Master of Reality is amazing. That's an incredible Black Sabbath record. And I think it gets sort of lost in the sauce sometimes. But Children of the Grave especially. I mean, oh, yeah, Sabotage is amazing too. I mean,
yeah. Go ahead.
they had such a great run. Like, they're all great, but I think Master of Reality is the one that people forget about for whatever reason. I'm like, how are you going to forget about the one that has, like, Sweet Leaf and Children of the Grave and, like, Into the Void? And come on, what are we doing
There's
here?
a moment where the substances really work, right? Like, to me, substances are like AI. When they're used to enhance, you get some great shit, and we're talking about some great shit. When Sly's done with 71 and he disappears for a while.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah.
When the substances are controlling you, well, then the music's gonna fall off.
Absolutely. Well, and so that's something that I have a serious problem with, as you will know, that the substances are not the creativity at all. Even a little bit, period, end statement, full stop. But if you have someone that is a creative person, in some cases, they can be used to bring out, get around overthinking things and certain neuroses or whatever, and create behaviors that use creativity in a way that they weren't before, which is often seen as that's where the creativity is coming from. It is not where the creativity is coming from. The creativity is coming from the creator.
Yes.
And that's a distinct difference. And the fact that we just still have this juvenile understanding of it culturally that's like, oh, well, they did all these great records because they're on drugs. And it's like, no, it's not because they're on drugs. They happen to be on drugs and making great records. And in certain cases, aesthetic decisions or arrangement decisions were probably made on those drugs. And that led to things that's like, wow, they moved music forward by doing that. But it wasn't because of the drugs.
That's where kind of this is where a movie like Phantom of the Paradise is kind of an important tale, because that's one of the themes of the movie, that we keep you high so you keep producing the art.
Yeah.
And the amount of drugs those guys were allowed to use for a long
time. Dude. Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't even say like it's over. It still exists.
It's still happening. It's just not
totally
like
still exists.
It's not like how it was. It's easier to
you can't put it into the album budget like you could back then.
Right. And the fire hose is that's just creativity now. Which is depressing in a way. How about, but if you want to, so the larger question of like cultural, meeting the moment for society and what's happening in the world at large, do you want to talk about what's going on?
What's Going On is one of those albums that for music journalists is what they want all black music to be forevermore. And I think when you do that, you do kind of a disservice to Marvin Gaye looking at the moment with a label that has kind of prided itself on being the epitome of black capitalism and racial uplift. Like that was what it was built on. Like we're going to be professionals and dress in suits, and all these women are going to have good straight wigs and everything. And he makes this record where he's not wearing the suit anymore, and he is looking around at the world, at himself, and reflecting it in song in the most beautiful way possible. And I think him and Lennon are doing similar things at the same time.
I'd agree.
I think he does it better. Maybe I'm culturally biased. I think Imagine is a great song.
Yeah, but it's a kind of weak record.
Thank you. Yes.
No, I am a John Lennon fan. Culturally, as far as the post-Beatles sweepstakes, I feel like people have moved away from John Lennon, and it's kind of somehow he's become underrated, especially some of that Plastic Ono band stuff. I mean, some of it's unlistenable garbage. Don't get me wrong, but some of it's badass, and I think that the song Imagine has such huge cultural cachet, and again met that moment that you're talking about in a very special, unique, and a little bit naive in retrospect, but this is talking about music before either of us were born, that it seems naive in retrospect, but at the time it wasn't. Because it kind of set that template in that way. So in that same way that, and by the way, there are some killer tunes on that Imagine record. Jealous Guy is one of the most stone cold songs ever. Love it. Give Me Some Truth. How Do You Sleep? Oh, talk about stone cold. And that was clearly aimed right at McCartney. But there's about a third of it you could just leave and never hear again and be fine. I think What's Going On, pretty much top to bottom, great.
Yes.
And I know what you mean too, that like he's dressed like a guy, right? And so it's passionate, but the idea of trying to recreate what's going on is like, well, you're misunderstanding why this is good. Like you're misunderstanding why it's important, because there was nobody making records directly addressing the material conditions of the listening audience and directly addressing the political situation of the listening audience at the time because it was, as you said, it was all sort of like, well, this is what you want to do if you want to make money. You got to look like this. You got to sing about that. It's got to sound like this.
Motown had a formula, right? Because it's built from a guy that worked in a factory. He's like, we're going to factory produce these records. We have a formula. Marvin Gaye was an integral part of that formula for a long 100%. Time. To break away to a certain extent from the formula, right? And go, we're going to take Motown in a new direction. I don't care what anybody says. You trust me on this. We got to go in a new direction because the times are calling for it.
Right. And there's a couple documentaries about Motown. There's like Standing in Shadows of Motown, but the one that came out, I guess 5 or 6 years ago, Hitsville, really good. It's worth watching. It's a little, there's certain things where it's like, all right, you can tell who approved this, but it's good. I mean, it's solid. If you want to know more, because I'm fascinated by, Stax too, but especially the whole Motown thing, just because of that whole machine, the Berry Gordy machine, right? And I think that's something that there's not really any modern analog in music, but there are modern analogs, but if they are, it's, I don't know, like Tyler Perry or something. I don't know what it would be. It feels like it looks like this, it comes out like that. Here's the people involved. To the idea of the fact that, Berry Gordy and the studio system would get along greatly if that was the idiom that he worked in. And I think that there's something to be said for that, and just how much of a breath of fresh air what's going on was because of that. Fragile came out this year too. Yes's greatest record.
Yeah, I said that last night because Roundabout is my favorite Yes song. Can you talk a little bit about why Yes, in this iteration of Yes, is better than 80s Yes, Owner of a Lonely Heart? Yes.
In the roundabout. I mean, that was okay. That's nothing wrong with that. But if you think about progressive rock mixed with songwriting, I mean, look, Heart of the Sunrise is what everybody is striving for, because the highs on it are so just amazingly transcendental. And you hear it covered by bands, which is a bold move because of that, because it's sort of in one song, like all the things that prog does well. And Yes managed to nail that. And it's something where, is it completely over the top? Oh, absolutely. Is it ridiculously overblown? Agreed.
Well, isn't Roundabout like 8 minutes too? Like, I mean,
Roundabout's not a short song. You're right. Yeah. Well, because it starts with Roundabout and it ends with Heart of the Sunrise. But like the thing is, so South Side of the Sky, that's great. I mean, I would say for me, Fragile by Yes is a record that you could give to somebody who's like, I don't know if I like prog or not. I'm like, well, check this out. Mm-hmm. If you listen to this, then tell me what songs you like on it, and I'll tell you where to go. I'll tell you whether or not to dive into the B tier King Crimson or not. Get Tarkus.
Well, speaking of that, there's a lot of what shocked me in this year is how much jazz is made, and it shocks me because again, Conan and I I'm a little older, so I'm 48 right now. Conan's still 47. But jazz, neither one of us grew up in an era where there's a lot of money being thrown at jazz, because jazz is no longer looked at as important or revolutionary music. And the 1971 jazz musicians are still looked at as like, this is where the important revolutionary voice of the people are coming from. And this is the revolutionary voice of black people, especially. So there's a lot of jazz records, a lot of jazz fusion records that are coming out at this time that are, it's kind of wild to think about how experimental you're still allowed to get. So much atonal shit is coming out in 71. That kind of blew my mind in putting this together. I'm like, someone gave you money?
I was born the wrong era.
The kind of shit that me and you hear at these noise shows, we're like, oh, this is stupid. I don't want to be here anymore. People were throwing money at goofy shit like that.
Well, I mean, Bitches Brew came out year before.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? It's crazy to think about. Like one of the great jazz fusion records, like, jazz avant funk. But but it's interesting that so it turns into more of an artistic medium rather than a financially viable one. And there's some freedom to that for sure. There's something to be said. And there's Pharoah Saunders, right? He does a pretty solid record this year.
Alice Coltrane has a couple records.
Alice Coltrane, yep.
That are super kind of out there, in my opinion. Davis has a couple records this year, because also these guys are recording live stuff. But as far as like jazz and avant jazz and fusion and prog rock, people can literally throw everything at the wall, and not just you have a budget to do it, you have time to do it.
Right.
That's another thing that I think is really important. These people, this isn't Jason and Conan, booking some time with the homie and shooting down and recording stuff on the weekend. This is like cats that we set you up in an apartment.
Yeah, we got this castle. And you can
stay here for the next 18 months. I think it was demos in, and we'll see what we got.
I think it was Deep Purple to stay at the castle, but that's my go-to example for just the excesses of the early 70s recording and late 60s recording journey. And all that's important to remember contextually, when you have these like richly layered records that have these songs that are just like stunning on them, and it's like, well, yeah, they had a lot of time of them. Perfect example, the Who. Who's next?
Who's next? Bob O'Reilly comes out.
Bob O'Reilly. So
playing with modular synths.
Yes, very much so. In fact, one can argue very little play was happening there because Pete Townsend was just joylessly toiling for like months. He was trying to make a rock opera called Lifehouse, and it was just not happening. But he got aspects of it with Bob O'Reilly, and then like the rest of the band was just like, hey, why don't we just make a record? Like, why don't we not worry about this Lifehouse business? These are good songs. Let's just go. But he like went so down the rabbit hole on modular synths. And this isn't like, let's download a preset. Yeah, like it's not like downloading a preset on your iPad and like until you find like a sound you want. We're talking about plugging a thing into a thing until it makes a noise that you like. Well, it makes a noise, but to make sure it makes a noise that you like, and then plugging another thing into that thing, and another thing into this thing, and then you have to remember what you did.
Yes,
and that's the problem, is that Townsend's just sitting there like a mad scientist, like like doing this and just like and they're just like, can we write a song, please? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? But that said. And I'm the first one to say, and I've always said this, that I think the Who are a singles record, and there's a couple of songs on Who's Next. I'm like, you can miss that, but on Who's Next, you have Bob O'Reilly. You also have Won't Get Fooled Again, and Behind Blue Eyes. So I ironically, like 3 of their kind of most well known and greatest songs are on Who's Next, and it was a compromise move. It was a compromise move because Townsend was absolutely dedicated towards making this deeply inscrutable and probably too hard to understand for their fans rock opera that he was.
But that was the level of self-indulgence in the era.
Yeah, because he was just doinking around, and was like, it was no like, there was no deadline.
but that's you like, look, there's so much money being thrown at these cats, which is kind of interesting. That again, we're going to set you up in the house. You're going to make this record, or you're going to get enough money to build a studio in your house. So now you have 24-hour access to make these records. Like the Stones in '71 go to France, where Keith Richards, with a serious heroin addiction at this time. Maybe France isn't the best place for him.
Right. Well, and we do need to get into the Stones of it all before we go past the Who. Got to mention that. Here comes the new boss, same as the old boss. I'm not sure if they understood at the time how iconic of a line that was going to be for the 1970s, but it really is. If you stop and think about like what embodies an era, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone focuses on the earlier stuff, the Hope I Die Before I Get Old, which definitely didn't happen. But no, it's here comes the new boss, same as the old boss, which unfortunately still relevant to this day.
I did see the Who in 2016, and I have to say,
did it rock?
Yeah, I was shocked. I'm not Conan. I don't care about a lot of stuff, and the Who is never high on my list of people I give a shit about. Yeah. But when you're just sitting there for no good reason because it's part of your job and you get to watch them, I was like, Pete Townsend is going for it, and he's got to be 1,000, and he's still going for it.
There is a clip from, and this is a great transition into the Stones, because the Rolling Stones did something called Rock and Roll Circus.
They were there. They played that same day, I believe.
I believe that was that old Cella.
Yeah, old Cella. Yeah.
Well, so the Rolling Stones at this time did a thing called Rock and Roll Circus, which is a whole the discussion in and of itself. It's amazing. It has all these. They basically got all their friends together, made the equivalent of like a TV special / festival. The Stones themselves did not. They were up for like 48 hours. Brian Jones was like useless. So like their performance is actually somewhat disappointing, but who stunned so bad and were so amazing that they were actually pulled off of the special was the Who. And I tell you right now, folks, if you take away anything from this show or have any thoughts about the Who, I think about this clip all the time. You just look up the Who Rock and Roll Circus. It's a quick one while he's away. It's 8 minutes. And if you're like, I don't like the Who, and you watch that, and at the end of it you're like, I still don't like the Who, I don't know what's wrong with you, because it's one of the best rock and roll things. I mean, it's stunning, and like they're just like they're a live band at the peak of their form. They annihilate the place in a way that like, you're like, oh, I guess the Stones had to go on after that, huh? So you could see why their manager guy was like, yeah, that's not going to be in the movie.
Dude, the Who is not to be fucked with, man. That is a live band they're still plugging in, and they're still killing it.
Oh, absolutely. And so my thing was always with the Who is that there's unequivocally one of the greatest rock and roll live bands. Fantastic. Some of the best songs in rock and roll, but they never quite made a go-to record. And then people get mad at me about that. I'm like, okay, like we can go through it song by song if you want, because they'll be inevitably like, oh yeah, that one's okay. And it's like, yeah, exactly. So, but you forgive it because like you are forgiven. You forgive it because of the songs that kick so much ass, right? And it's interesting that how things are remembered. Like talking about that, real quick, going back to the Imagine record, and they're like, oh yeah, that record's great. I'm like, is it though? Half of it is.
Yeah.
Half it's fantastic. I agree, and the other half is like, could have baked that one a bit more.
When you listen to music, so I think we also listen to music differently. Like we were talking about this last night. There's a moment, because this is also still early into stereo. So people are really sitting in a room and crafting music,
listening.
And the relationship, and this is going to sound like an old guy yelling at trains. I don't care, because I do think music is extremely different the way it's produced and the way it's consumed. Most of us are consuming music through mediocre means, through our phones, our laptops, earbuds. This was back when, it was made for the vinyl record. It's mastered for the vinyl record. And you have these great speaker systems, and you're sitting back and just listening to the thing in its entirety. I'm guilty of this. I put it on. If it's not moving right away, and especially if I don't know it, next.
That's ruthless. I feel like a lot of people are. I feel like that's
a lot of people now. Yeah, I'm
not.
I am
but I
look. That list was pages and pages long of albums.
Oh sure, yeah.
I didn't have all day to go, oh, I don't know this artist. What is the best song on here? It'll be whatever.
Oh, I know. It would have to be your job, and even then, it would be sort of a grueling one in some cases, especially some.
It's not like anybody thanks me for these.
No, all these folks gotta say, and I say this every time. All these folks go, "Oh, you forgot this, you forgot that." I'm like, bitch, we didn't forget anything. How long do you think these shows are? How long do you think these shows are that we do for free for you? What are you thinking? Like, come on. I mean. Great. If y'all want to hear more, here's what you should do. Write like a Sirius XM or something. Get them to give us money to do this show on the real. Oh, we will go deeper than you ever made. Like, oh, I can't believe we asked them to go deeper. Oh my God, they're doing this now. Dude, we will go deep. But there is only so many hours in the day.
Because they're usually 3 hours long.
Yeah. They usually.
Well, we're doing something. Look, we're doing something special again today. We're gonna cut it pretty soon, because we're going into the champagne room where we can actually play these songs. It's one thing to talk about this stuff. It's another thing to play it. Another artist that I think is one of the most important artists of the 20th century is Stevie Wonder. And
it's absolutely 100%. Yeah. And this is.
Yeah. He's no longer little Stevie. He's getting into the Stevie Wonder. Is going to make Intervisions, Songs in the Key of Life, all the great hits. To me, 71 is an important step.
Yeah, he's not making those this year though. What he's doing is making Where I'm Coming From, which is good. But it's sort of like it's a preview of what's going to come. And in the same way that, like in this case, he's absolutely coming out from Motown Control and doing his own thing. But if you're going to talk about the records like along those lines, Isaac Hayes, Black Moses comes out this year.
Ooh, yes, that's on the list.
Which has that. The LP has that fold out where it's got the oh man, this is really hard to describe, but he's got like the robe and like you on the cover you only see like his face and like his head, right? But it unfolds out into like a cross. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty badass, dude. Like when I first saw like the physical of that, I'm like, oh man, you don't get that on streaming.
Well,
Wow.
albums were different too because it's like
Yeah.
you were consuming it all, so the artwork of the record was really important. Like a person that was an album artist, that was your job that you paid your bills and probably bought a house from.
There's a great documentary called Hypnosis, Squaring the Circle, Hipgnosis, because Hypnosis was the place that did all of the crazy 70s Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, so on and so on album art, and it's stunning because they all had to like go to a place to do a thing. Like when I was talking about doing The Way of the Neutron and how like the covers are all like, you know, they're actually photographs in places. Like that's like the old style. That was all you had, is like you had to like go to a place to do a thing. You had to fly out to do a thing. I think we should. I forgot that. I mean, we're basically, this episode is basically a bonus round compared to how we normally do this. But you started talking about Sticky Fingers, Stones going to France for tax purposes, which is hilarious. But the larger thing with that is their management ran off of the money. So it wasn't just that they were being tax scofflaws.
Right? Well, Black Sabbath ends up broke at the end of the 70s. Because what they can do is they can be like, okay, we're going to take all your money, but we'll set you up. We'll give you a car. All this is in our name. Ronnie James Dio, one of the few music documentaries that I do watch, and I've watched it too many times. The Dio one where he talks about after he left, was it Rainbow? And everything was in the band's name.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like, we're like, whoa. These guys, a lot of them were left penniless.
Yeah, no, it's rough, man. It's real rough. And that's it's so harsh that that's a common story, and that's something that I feel like for a long time was not focused on, and that's it should be, because it's reprehensible, and it led towards a lot of people's downward spiral, you know, getting into drugs and kind of losing who they are as an artist, and so on and so on. Speaking of Sly and the Family Stone. Hey, everybody!
This is a great record, though.
Oh, dude, yeah. There's a Riot Going On comes out this year. Awesome. It's again, that's another one that's like, I don't know how you can say you enjoy music and not enjoy that record. Like it's badass, and this is also where, you know, Sly starts isolating himself creatively, dicking around with drum machines, early drum machines in the 70s, and just
they had to record the record by themselves.
Yeah, and to initially great effect, you know, but because you have a lot of great tunes. I mean, this is the one that's got like Family Affair. There's a Riot Going On. There's a lot of really iconic songs on here, but there should be like a Conan Mentions a Music documentary in these shows, but the Sly Stone documentary is very good, and it doesn't completely get into. It's called Sly Lives. It came out this year. It doesn't completely get into how rough it kind of got for him near the end, but I quite enjoyed it, and I know a lot about the subject matter, and I felt like it was handled informatively and relatively even-handedly without being overly glossing over.
I mean, talk about it. Couldn't they not find him, and he didn't get
royalties
for decades?
For a long time, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He was like on the streets, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he was living in his car, dude. It does not, for someone that is a unequivocal musical genius. That like how hard the fall was is it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. But this is Sly Stone at his best. You know, again, this is coming out. You got What's Going On, and there's a Riot Going On. Lots of going ons in 1971. But both are iconic records that are kind of addressed.
They're literally stepping out of urban turmoil, right? And they can't go. We can't do WAP and. All right, baby, our way out of this. Like, we kind of have to address the fact that shit ain't right.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And that's the fact that it happened with not one but two incredibly inventive, well-respected, beloved black artists the same year is pretty impressive.
The Beach Boys are even talking about protest.
Right.
Surfs up.
Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean,
Like
well, on the beach,
you can't get away from it.
you can't get away from it, and for good reason. I mean, and there's a lot to be said about the non Brian Wilson Beach Boys, but yeah. Let's not get into it. We don't really have a lot of time. The record that comes out, the Beach Boys record that comes out this year, is kind of lame.
Tiny Dancer, Madman Across the Water, Elton John.
That's right. Hold me closer, Tony Danza.
That's a big song. Then there's some songwriters in the country world that jump on the John Prine.
Oh yeah, great John Prine record comes out. I forget the name of it, but there's
Merle Haggard record that comes out this year.
Haggard record solid.
Willie Nelson has a couple albums. The Man in Black.
Yep, Johnny Cash. Yeah, and that's such a weird time for country music too, because it starts being largely formulaic until you get to like a Johnny Paycheck and things along those lines. Mm-hmm. But yeah, in retrospect, some of it's like kind of been rediscovered. Some of it, like this production, is like, what are you doing? I realize I'm less of a Merle Haggard fan than I thought I was, but Willie Nelson's awesome. I mean, there's a lot of great records that come out this year within that genre as well. That we'll go ahead and charitably say we're probably not listening to Sly Stone.
Sunship by John Coltrane, Roots by Curtis Mayfield. Another one of these.
Curtis Mayfield, yeah, that's right. God, it's wild. That's all the same year, right? Like,
Maggie May. Maggie fucking May comes out.
Yeah.
American Pie. Don McLean comes out this year.
Yes,
and LA Woman. I don't know. Are you
The Doors? Yeah. I've gone back and forth with The Doors for years. I used to love them, then I was really annoyed by them. Then I went back to loving them. Then I was back to being annoyed by them.
I wasn't a Doors guy. I didn't hate them. I just didn't care. And then,
all right. So,
let me say this. I was at a bar here in Mexico that sadly I haven't taken you to yet. When you get time and come back down here, I will take you to this place. And I was there with the woman I was dating at the time, and the video for that came on, and I was like, they had a video for this? Because you can see it's obviously him. It's not AI. And we were like, this is crazy. And then the whole bar started singing LA Woman. And it was like,
right,
that's a dope ass song.
Yeah. Okay. So The Doors, I've gone back and forth. I basically come back around to culturally probably more harmful than helpful. Oof. But look, man, how many shirtless bad poets have we had to deal with over the years that think they're all Jim Morrison, right?
Touché.
The record that comes out this year, there's two timeless songs on there. Not just one, two, because you got Riders on the Storm and LA Woman. And a couple ones that are pretty good. One of the worst songs they ever wrote is on this one. I think The Doors are more. They have a solid, 10 songs that are astounding and are worthy of discussion. That wouldn't be my go-to record, but it's a notable one again culturally, because you're talking about these records that, like, in retrospect, they're not. Are they great? Nah, they're fine, but they had a huge cultural impact. My dad I think this is the year that he saw the Doors play at a ice skating ring that did not have ice in it. There was cardboard boxes laid down on the floor. and he saw them play, and I was like, how was it? I was like, it was really good. I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, I went there with some girls. I was like, did you get lucky? And he's like, no. I'm like,
no, you came out later, son.
I was like, yeah, that was 6 years later. No, my dad did.
Man,
okay.
It wasn't working for me until your mom goofy ass came around.
He had his time, but it wasn't 71 apparently. Leonard Cohen.
Yes.
Leonard Cohen, Songs of Love and Hate come out this year, which is great. Famous Blue Raincoat, Last Year's Man, just like timeless songs. Oh, which reminds me, Joni Mitchell. She did Blue this year. Yeah,
Blue.
Which is
Blue and Tapestry, Carly Simon.
Oh, Carole King. Yeah, of course, Tapestry. Sure. Yeah. And she, Right. So, and there's with the Carole King record, Aretha does her version, and then Carole King also does her version. Like, it's like I just wanted to make sure my version was out there too, because it's a different song. Which, as a songwriter, respect.
It's very different when she sings it. I think it's very different when she's. I'm not saying one is better than the other. They're just different. Enjoy both of them. They're out there in the world for you to enjoy, not to judge.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, big time respect as a songwriter. Like, yeah, man, get it.
And let's keep in mind, she didn't write the words. Her husband did.
It's just insane to me.
And she was like, I don't know if I can write the words. And then James Taylor's like, I think you got it.
Yeah, Carpenters, talk about mayonnaise on white bread, but I do like the Carpenters.
I like the look again. This show, there's no guilty pleasures. If you jump in the TIR universe, we don't even say that term. Like what you like, fuck what the world has to say about it. I like the Carpenters, and they. Who do you dig in that similar genre? That song for song that's better than the Carpenters. Carpenters.
Oh yeah, it's Carpenters have to be the least dangerous band I like. At least musically. Not speaking
self-destruct wise. Yeah, they party.
Oh yeah, sure. Superstars on this one, right? That's amazing. Rainy Days and Mondays. Yeah, it's
what a beautiful voice Karen had. Not just a badass drummer, but just a gorgeous voice.
Again, you just said it. People sometimes don't even know. It's like, no, Karen Carpenter was a stone badass drummer. And that family, all they wanted to do is sink all of their time, energy, money, attention, so on and so on, into her brother. They were like, he's going to be the one. Richard Carpenter. He can play anything. He's the best. Karen, she's okay. She's okay. And it's like, dude, Richard Carpenter's better than average. Karen Carpenter is a generational talent, and they could not see it. And it is so sad. And I highly recommend, you'd probably have to find on a legal site or something, the Todd Haynes movie Superstar, where he does the Karen Carpenter, or is it? Yeah, I think it's called Superstar, where he reenacts it all with Barbies, but like he can't show it except for if they have like a historical retrospective of early Todd Haynes movies. They can't say what it is because of copyright, but you should. I highly recommend checking it out because A, it's a very sad story. B, it's a really well done movie in an orthodox format. But yeah, they just over and over again try to sink everything into her brother, and just would not ever recognize for the talent she is, which is so tragic. I mean, her whole thing is very tragic. But
Hawkwind comes out 71.
Oh yeah.
Where Lemmy I'm sad that a lot of people look at that's Lemmy's first band. Like they were pretty cool.
Hawkwind's cool.
Rock band, psychedelic rock band. I don't know what you want to call them.
Yeah, Hawkwind's good. I mean, they
used to rehearse at Soundwave.
They're a sound band, not a song band, to me.
A sound band, you said?
Yeah, there's some bands where it's like, are you really going to see High on Fire for them to play a specific song? No, you're here to see Mike Pike get shirtless and for people to do sword play in the pit. It's like I like them, by the way. I like High on Fire, but they're a sound band. Their sound is freaking unstoppable. But sometimes people are like, oh, I really want to hear. Harry Nilsson is a song band. It's like, oh, well, it's barely a band at all because he didn't like playing live, and some bands are both. Mirror Man, Beefheart, solid record, not one of the best, but it's good. ZZ Top's first album.
Yep.
They don't even have the beards yet.
Shuggy Otis also comes out. Very underrated artist, guitar player. Then Lizzie, I think this is her first record, self-titled.
It is, and the song you put on there, it's like, oh, they're just doing Hendrix. Like it's before Thin Lizzy sounds like Thin Lizzy, which is crazy. So, and I say that Thin Lizzy being probably top 10 band for me.
Ooh Child by Nina Simone.
Good. Oh no! Do not skip past High Time MC5. What are you doing, man? It's MC5. Great.
Check out the jams.
I mean, that's not on this record, but
Did you get to meet Wayne? Have you ever met Wayne Kramer?
Yeah, man. I met him when he did the MC50 with Billy Gould on bass, Brendan Canty on drums, and Kim from Soundgarden on other guitar. And they did like all, and the guy from Zangorilla, Marcus, singing. And they did all MC5 songs, and it killed. It was awesome. High Times, interesting. MC5 has to be the greatest rock and roll band that just don't have a go-to record too, because Kick Out the Jams is just recorded terribly. Yeah, I was gonna say, I dare you skip it to MC5.
We're going to listen to the actual song.
High Time is probably their best sounding record, I would say. There's some great tunes. I mean, even like the lesser MC5 is still badass. It's still pretty great. I mean, it's just you always. I would love there have been a universe where you get like an actual kick-ass recording of Kick Out the Jams that's like sounds really good, because it doesn't exist on that lineup. There are later ones, but anyway, I'll save it for my MC5 podcast.
Dr. Claus says the Carpenters are the one act where when I hear the music, I start to believe in the baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet bullshit America sells.
We were coming back from our show in San Diego in June. We were going back to the hotel. I'm not going to narc anybody out, but somebody was pretty drunk. Actually, everyone but me was pretty drunk, frankly, for that show after we played. But we just did a Carpenter's block on the way back to the hotel, and it was great fun. I was like, man, forget like how many bangers that this band had, but just how utterly dangerous it is, but how great it is.
Does it bring you back to? I mean, look, that's Laurel Canyon sound, but does it bring you back to AM radio like it does for me?
Sure, yeah.
That's the first thing I think.
There was a lot of that stuff in the house growing up too. My mom liked a lot of that. Well, and Joni Mitchell, technically speaking, is like from that world too. But like, there's something kind of weird compliment about Joni Mitchell's stuff. Like it kind of
she's an ethereal all over the place. Yeah.
It's ethereal. It's a little more. Yeah, there's something very artsy compliment about Joni Mitchell's stuff compared to the Carpenters, which I also love. Carpenters are good. Well, I love the. I mean, who. The Carpenter, it's like it's endemic to American culture, and in that case, that's okay.
Early Earth, Wind and Fire is this year. Link Ray has a record this year that does not sound like Link Ray.
I mean, that's another one. Like, dude, he wrote Rumble. He never needs to write another song. What James Brown record comes out this year? Hot Pants.
Hot Pants. Yeah, which is huge for hip hop, right? This record's gonna be huge for hip hop because it's gonna be super sampled. But this is also James Brown really digging into black capitalism.
Is that still the JBs? Yeah, it is the JBs. Yeah, it is.
Are you sure? Did you look it up?
I just looked it up.
Didn't he fire them mid-year though and get boots?
Yeah, and that's when he changes up to right to all them. So this is. Yeah. I mean, what am I gonna say? It's a James Brown record. You got Bobby Bird, you got Fred Wesley, you got them all. Like, do you like James Brown? Sounds like a James Brown record. Yeah.
Oh, it's a badass record. It's just also it's funny that again, if you watch that 71 documentary, I feel like they gloss over.
Oh, because they totally do.
Yeah, they're like, oh, he just liked Richard Nixon, and this is. But
he's like, oh, that's it.
Loved him. They sure did love him.
Can I say I sometimes forget which records things are on other than Live with Apollo, one of the greatest live records of all time, because I listen to the box set. Mm-hmm. That they have that like three album box set. I think it's called Star Power or Mr. Dynamite or something, whatever. So when I listen to it, I usually am listening to that. So I kind of it gets hazy to me where some of these lesser records is like which ones they are. But anyway.
Let's. You want to get ready to wrap this up, and we can talk about music while we.
Yeah. Is there anything else on the playlist you want to?
Oh my God! You know what I didn't know came out in '71. You're gonna laugh because you probably knew this. I didn't know this.
4 CD box set, right?
Where'd it go? Here, Rare Earth. I had no idea about this.
What's Rare Earth?
I love this song.
I don't know what that is.
Just wanna celebrate. I didn't know that was.
Oh, I didn't know that one. That's wild.
I discovered a bunch of music on this. I had no idea who the Sunbirds were. Dig It. I dig it. The Watts Prophets. I won't say the title on air, even though I say it all the time. I'm just not going to say the title on air. I became a Norma Tananga fan because of the show What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, that's
And
right. She does that song. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
dead,
Hell
you're
yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
You know
That
where
one's
she's
good.
from? You know where she's from?
I do not know where she's from.
The Bay.
Right on. That's
She's
awesome.
from the Bay. Steppenwolf, the people that coin heavy metal. We're going to call it heavy metal because of Steppenwolf, Heavy Metal Thunder. Make an album called For Ladies Only. And I saw that title and I was like, there's no way in the world. And it is for ladies only. It is not like we don't want dudes at the spot.
Wow.
We don't want you showing up. Bring them broads. I'm not fucking with y'all. Quincy Jones has Smackwater Jack, which is, filled with Quincy Jones hits and TV themes that he wrote.
They usually are. Aqualung comes out this year too.
Aqualung is on here. The Last Poets have This Is Madness. Like Gil Scott Heron has A Revolution Will Not Be Televised. Yeah, go ahead.
Jesus H. Christ. Love It to Death, Alice Cooper. My favorite Alice Cooper record comes out this year. Yeah, so this is when we start thinking of like Alice Cooper. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When we start thinking of the Alice Cooper that we know of. And by the way, Alice Cooper band is different from Alice Cooper's solo career. And there is a run of albums that is like, if that on its own, aside from everything, was that the only thing that people knew, it would be like, this is the best rock and roll I've ever heard. So you got Love It to Death and Killer, which is also up there, come out both 71. School's Out, 72 the next year, $1 Billion Babies, 73, and then there's Most All Love too, which is fine. But like that run of like 4 records is just stunning. And there actually is a really, once again, Conan Neutron recommends a documentary. Take a drink. There's a documentary that came out about 10 years ago called Super Duper Alice Cooper. It was like made by some Canadian guy. Really good. Highly recommend checking it out because they all started as a high school band, and then they were around for this hippie era, didn't vibe with it at all, and basically decided to do something like completely different. And culturally, like you don't get like Alice Cooper begets us, Marilyn Manson and freaking, like any of, and that's just the cultural figure of Alice Cooper, the guy. And that's absolutely worthy of discussion and super interesting to discuss on its own. But people absolutely do not know how awesome, like rock solid, every song is great. Love It to Death, Killer, School's Out, $1 Billion Babies are. And Love It to Death, which has all these banger songs, also has songs like Ballad of Dwight Fry and Black Juju, where they were like doing these conceptual sort of art things within the context of this big rock and roll show. And this was like, people don't even know. It was scary to parents. They're like, oh no, you can't possibly go to the Alice Cooper show. Like people get killed there, White zombie. Yeah.
There's a famous line. I don't kill chickens. Colonel Sanders kills chickens.
Yeah.
That's a great line, man.
But I want to bring it up because I forgot that 71 and Killer's amazing as well. Killer's a top 3 Alice Cooper band record as well. But Love It to Death is like, that's the frickin', it's so good. And I guess there needs to be like a movie or something that has I'm 18 or Caught in a Dream or something or Long Way to Go show up in it for kids to pay attention. And even then it'll just be ascribed to Alice Cooper along with all that Feed My Frankenstein nonsense and
the 80s. I read an article.
And she's dick 80s stuff.
I read an article this morning about the Alice Cooper in the 80s, and we can get into that in the Champagne Room if anybody cares to know about what happened to Alice in the 80s. But let's go to the Champagne Room. If you guys,
yeah. So there you go. 71, man. We could do 7 more hours on this. I can't believe we've kept this to an hour. It seems disingenuous. We're gonna go listen to some of this music. Is what we're gonna do.
I think we've talked about this before. I actually watched a show with Rick Beato talking about all the the money he's spending on legal fees because he's interviewing Stuart Copeland, let's say, and goes, "This Phil right here," and he plays a police, like 20 seconds of a police song.
Yeah.
And they demonetize the video, and he's with the actual.
Dude.
So
it's a copyright enforcement system where content occasionally happens.
Yeah, obviously this is fair use. We're gonna go to the Champagne Room because that's the only place that we can do this, and we can play this music.
Before we do that, can I mention all my tour dates real quick? I can do it in under a minute. So, Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends, back out on the road this fall. October 17th, Chicago, Liars Club. I'll just say the city. I won't say the venue. You go to neutronfriends.com. October 18th, Minneapolis. October 19th, Lincoln, Nebraska. October 20th, Denver, Colorado. October 21st, Salt Lake City, Utah. October 22nd, Boise, Idaho. October 23rd, Eugene, Oregon. October 24th, Portland, Oregon. October 25th, Seattle, Washington for Rat City Recon with Piss Jeans, God Bullies, Cherubs, Helms Ali, Austerity Program, many other great bands, all-day festival, fantastic. November 13th, Kansas City, Missouri. November 14th, Jackson, Mississippi. November 15th, Atlanta, Georgia. November 16th, New Orleans, Louisiana. November 17th, Austin, Texas. November 18th, Denton, Texas. November 19th, Wichita, Kansas. November 20th, Santa Fe, New Mexico. November 21st, Phoenix, Arizona. December 5th, Los Angeles, California, with the great Mike Watt for my birthday, everybody. So if you're in the LA area, come check that out. NeutronFriends.com, NeutronFriends.bandcamp.com. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have a video for the Villain of Circumstance song debuting a week from Monday that was directed in part by Professor Rick Valentin, who has been on this very show. And come see us. Come see us, and if you like rock and roll, you'll love Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. And then come hang out with us in the Champagne Room while we listen to a bunch of these tunes.
Let's go. We'll see you guys there. You want to join us wherever you're watching or listening to this show, there is a link in the description to become a patron. If you're listening to this later on Apple, just subscribe to the channel, and bam, you get all these new Champagne Room listening parties that we did. It was just last week we did the Megadeth listening party with Doc Coyle from God Forbid. I got to do a Metallica listening party with Stavros from the Atlas Moth. I'm going to be doing another one coming up with Aaron Gillespie from Under Oath. He's coming on the show in a few weeks. So we're having some fun here on TIR.
I can't believe we kept this to an hour. Oh, not quite, but
dude,
I mean, these are normally like 3 hours long. So
you know why? Because we can listen to the fucking songs.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So, and I'm serious, man. If you like these shows, if someone out there, one of you fuckers have to have some money. Give us money. We will do this, and it will be better than you could possibly imagine. Like, we will do this on the real. Like, we will hire half of y'all in the chat. Well, real time fact checkers.
I'll tell you. So I messed up on how we were going to do this originally, but let's go hang out in the Champagne Room.
Pardon my French, but give us money. Thank you.
I'm pro that. I'm very pro that. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Peace.